Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, the tension between the local governments of Makati and Taguig heats up with public schools caught in the middle of the territorial dispute. The Makati City government demands Taguig officials to secure a writ of execution to implement the transfer of jurisdiction of the 10 barangays. The Taguig LGU now accuses Makati of using delaying tactics. Makati Mayor Abby Binay joins us in the program. Classes resume in 2 weeks, but the city of Taguig claims there's still no proper turnover for schools affected by the territorial dispute with Makati. As EJ Gomez tells us, Taguig is accusing its rival of using delaying tactics.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, is urging the cities of Makati and Taguig to coordinate and begin the transition over its boundary dispute. Interior Secretary Benhar Abalos says the two city governments should prioritize the welfare of affected residents, particularly teachers and students, as classes are set to begin soon.
Ang issue kasi rito is that number one, dapat yung mga tao tuloy-tuloy ang serbisyo. Hindi dapat sila maapektuhan.
About 30,000 elementary and high school students in 14 schools are affected by the situation.
Nalulungkot po kami kasi nising ko wala po kami nabayaran sa mga supplies. Libre po lahat, prioritize nila. PWDs, students, scholarships, solo parent and mga parent na may anak na special child.
Classes will start in 2 weeks. But according to Taguig City Mayor Lani Cayetano, no proper turnover has been done to prepare the affected schools.
Handa na po yung transition team ng City of Taguig pero talagang pinupush pa.
Proving the persistent tension between Makati and Taguig is this tarpaulin at Tibagan High School in Barangay East Rembo, which was removed an hour before Mayor Cayetano arrived for Brigada Escuela. But the Makati City government insists that Taguig needs to secure a writ of execution to effect the transfer of jurisdiction over the 10 barangays. It further adds that the entry of Taguig City's personnel in public schools in disputed areas is unlawful. The mayor of Taguig, however, says this is just part of Makati's delaying tactics.
Wala namang pinag-usapan na writ of execution because ano pa bang hindi lilinaw sa sinabihan na tayong lahat ng korte, final and executory. Their intention really is to delay at to distract us para hindi kami makafocus.
On the issue of funds, Makati City Mayor Abby Binay says that the Taguig City government is not capable of funding the billions of pesos for the services they provide to the 14 affected schools. According to her, total expenditures of Makati have reached more than 600 million pesos in just 6 months. In response, Mayor Cayetano says,
Kami naman ay hindi kasing yaman, pero for more than a decade, nagbibigay na kami ng mga kagamitan mula ulo hanggang paa at yung mga school kits na ginagamit ng mga estudyante namin.
Junior high school student Cedric is hoping that everything will be all right in the end.
Hindi po madali na tanggapin pero ngunit we're hoping na sana lahat po is makatanggap. And kung ano po yung kayang maibigay ng Taguig City is tatanggapin naman po ng mga taga-district.
EJ Gomez, CNN Philippines.
And let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Makati Mayor Abby Binay. Mayor Abby, welcome to The Source. Good to see you again. Okay, Mayor, mag-umpisa na po tayo dito. I'll start with the basics. Ano po, I hope you don't mind. I think it's best to really first set context on this issue. So yung Supreme Court ruling po, ruled on this what is called territorial jurisdiction. Ibig sabihin, yung 10 barangay previously with Makati is now part of Taguig, which means, from my understanding, these barangays now belong to Taguig, and Taguig has governance and jurisdiction over these barangays. Are we on the same boat, Mayor?
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
Now, ito po yung tanong ko. If they have governance and jurisdiction, does this equate to ownership?
No.
Okay. So, pag-usapan na po natin yung issue at hand ngayon.
Just to kasi sinasabi niya, it is clear, the Supreme Court. Yes, it is clear. There's only 2 paragraphs written in the Supreme Court decision. In the dispositive portion of the Supreme Court decision, There is nothing there that says that parcels 3 and 4 is now owned by Taguig.
Walang
It
ganon.
says parcels 3 and 4 is now the the territory of Taguig.
Opo. Yung 10 barangay na yon, nasa teritoryo ngayon ng Taguig. Yun pong sinabi ng Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, also from my understanding, never ruled on ownership. There was no part in that decision on ownership. Okay.
None. In fact, there was no mention of ownership, nor was there a mention on accounting of taxes.
Okay.
So walang ganon na demand from Taguig.
Okay. So pag-usapan po natin, Mayor, itong 14 schools located dito nga sa 10 barangay. Now that is part of the territorial jurisdiction of Taguig. Siguro ang tanong ko ho, Mayor, kung if Taguig has jurisdiction over these 14 schools, what exactly are they entitled to?
And what is they're entitled to the governance of, not the schools, governance of its political territory. Now, since the schools are owned by the city the city has the discretion whether to let them use the facility still as a school
Opo.
or use it for something else.
Okay. So,
Diba?
pag,
So that's one.
Opo.
Number two is clear doon sa aming meeting with DepEd is I will be retaining certain schools to be run by DepEd Makati. Because magkukulang naman kami ng school. So mawawalan din kami ng Science High School. So hindi equitos yung gusto nilang mangyari na they'll just get all 14 schools.
Mayor, how many schools did you want when you had that meeting with DepEd?
In the beginning, I only wanted Makati Science High School. That was very clear on our first meeting with DepEd. On the second meeting with DepEd, I asked that the 2 other schools, which is right beside the University of Makati, to be retained because we will be converting parts of the school of Fort Bonifacio High School into a senior high school laboratory for the University of Makati. So, again, it is within the discretion of the city of Makati on how they will use their facilities because it is owned by the city government. So yun yung so mangyayari out of the 14, wala namang problema kung gusto nilang patakbuhin yung schools yung 11 kasi 14 minus 3, 11 schools, pero ang punot dulot nito is one, you will have to respect our contracts until the end of the year. We do have contracts for these schools until the end of the year. Number 2 is the compensation for the use of the facilities, not just the use of the buildings, but also they want us not to take out any movables inside the school. So meaning, lahat ng school chair, lahat ng computer, lahat ng smart lab, lahat yon, they want to get it without paying the city compensation. You have to remember, it's not about money. It's about proper accounting. These items, these assets are in our books. And for us to be able to remove that from our books, it's either there will be a sale or some form of transfer.
Because pagdating
So,
po sa COA, kayo po ang paghahanapan.
Ako naman ang makakasuhan ng COA. Kasi hindi po pwede na nasa libro ko,
Opo.
pero Taguig ang gumagamit.
Is that
Diba?
why gusto niyo po itong tinatawag na writ of execution? Ganun ho ba? Para malinaw? Para legal?
Kasi dun sa writ of execution, hindi lang school ang pag-uusapan natin pag-uusapan natin health services.
Hospital.
We have, the health centers are owned by the city. It's not owned, it is, so paano ngayon when do we stop giving assistance to those that go to the hospital? When do we stop giving free dialysis? When do we stop giving free medicine? Is it only when they say, meaning Taguig says, ako na, ako na, wag na kayo, stop na kayo. Hindi pwede yun. Kailangan may dokumento, di ba? It can't be verbal. So the problem with negotiations, it's all verbal.
Yeah.
There is nothing written. So hindi mo pwede sabihin, I take offense with what the mayor of Taguig said, that we are delayed because first of all, for just to put into context, the DepEd order of the NCR DepEd order was released August 4, Friday. August 7, the city of Taguig writes the city of Makati asking for transition. So weekend yun na, Monday. The city of Makati wrote to them August 11. Baka hindi niya nabasa yung sulat. But prior to our letter on August 11, they already asked that their security agency go into our schools as early as Saturday, August 12.
Okay.
Here comes Brigada Eskwela, August 14. So, hindi to delaying eh. They're ramming their position. And hindi kalabisan yung hinihingi namin na we all put everything in writing.
Okay. Mayor, balikan ko lang po yung, kasi I want to talk about this DepEd memo, which to me is a little confusing on exactly what is the role of DepEd in all this. I'll pause on that question. Balikan ko po yung sinasabi niya. Dun sa 14, you wanted 3. Wala ho bang
Yes.
naging, when you say you want 3, anong ibig sabihin nun? Yun dun sa 3, Makati na magbabayad lahat ng operating expenses, etc. Ganun ho yun.
Yeah.
Tapos yung
Yeah.
11, you turn it over to them. Tama ho ba yun?
Yeah. So they will pay for the capital expenses, they will pay for the utilities, lahat 'yon.
Opo.
Sila na mag-take over sa. But again, there's nothing in writing.
Opo. But, hindi, ang tanong ko po, nung hiningi niyo po, hindi naman hiningi, yung sinasabi niyong iwan yung 3 sa amin, pumayag ho ba sila o hindi? Even if this is just
Hindi.
verbal. Okay.
Hindi sila pumayag.
Okay.
Lahat ng hiningi namin, hindi sila pumayag. That's putting it simply. Lahat ng hiningi namin, lahat ng suggestion namin, ayaw nila.
Okay. So, kung Makati po ang may-ari ng mga building, and Taguig will have governance, in other words, siguro tatagalugin ko, dapat ang Taguig rather ang magbayad ng lahat ng gastusin dito sa 14 na ospital. Ano po? So, can they do that? Number 1. And number 2, is that okay with you? Basta sila po magbayad ng lahat ng mga expenses dito sa 14.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. But you want this in writing?
Of course.
Okay.
Which yun nga yung problema eh. Wala nang in writing eh, di ba? Are you saying that you're going to start today?
Opo.
And until when? Because what if this is technically just a lease? I am just leasing you the properties. I am not giving you, it's either you buy or you lease. Di ba? So, even that, we don't know anong intention ng Taguig. Bibilin ba nila? Because for them to interpret that the city government properties are owned by them is unjust enrichment unless they give us just compensation.
Okay. Ayan na po si Mayor Abby speaking as a lawyer. Okay. Meron ho kasing sinabi din dito si Mayor Lani na salapi ng bayan ito. But we'll talk about that. And the memo order. Ano po? But we need to take a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our source today, Makati Mayor Abby Binay. Mayor, we left it off dito sa DepEd memo, no? So, the DepEd issued a transfer of management and supervision to Taguig, dito po sa 14 na eskwelahan. Siguro, ang gusto ko pong malaman, ano ho ba, up to what extent ang dapat na responsibilidad ng DepEd dito sa issue na ito? Kasi parang nagkaroon ho ng problema, obviously, dito sa DepEd order sa Brigada Eskwela na ginawa po ng Taguig.
So, if you look the DepEd order, it only pertains to what is within their jurisdiction. Number one, nakalimutan ho kasi ata ng DepEd na hindi ho DepEd ang may-ari ng facilities. Nor do they even have a use of right in the use of the facilities.
A what,
hindi ho-
Mayor? Nor do they have a?
Use of right. Use of right.
Okay.
Meaning to use.
Opo.
So, 'di ba, ang sakop lang ng DepEd ay yung teacher niya at kung yung facility na siya ang may-ari. So, since hindi siya may-ari ng facility, yung DepEd order niya only pertains to the teachers. Tsaka yung pagpapatakbo ng school. Pero hindi pinag-uusapan nun saan gagawin yung pagpapatakbo nung eskwelahan. Kasi hindi nga sila yung may-ari ng school. So it's different with Taguig because as far as I know, the school buildings in Taguig is actually owned by DepEd. All our school buildings is not owned by DepEd. It is owned by the city.
So all 14? All 14?
Even all my 30 plus schools is owned by the city. Wala ho kaming kinukuha kahit anong budget for the facilities. Even yung upuan, hindi yung school chairs na binibigay ho ng DepEd, even yung supplemental feeding, hindi ho kami kumukuha sa DepEd. So we are very independent when it comes to the support to our schools.
So, ang building ay sa pera ng Makati, pagpapatakbo
Yes.
nun, paglagay ng kung anumang equipment, ginamit din ng Makati ang kanilang pera para dito. Okay.
Kahit ho yung nurse at dentist ay empleyado po ng city ng Makati.
Mayor, do you think that there was, siguro, nagkamali ho ba, excuse me, yung DepEd to issue this memo transferring the management and supervision to Taguig? Is this something, that is questionable for you?
If you look at the wording, di ba, for the transition, di ba? So hindi sinasabi now na.
Okay.
Ang sabi dyan is yung mga teachers, ililipat na sila from DepEd Makati to DepEd Taguig
Opo.
in preparation for the transition. In fact, kahit yung sweldo nila, hindi nila kukunin sa DepEd Taguig. Kukunin nila doon sa there's an acronym there. It's called RSPU, if I'm not mistaken, Regional Salary Payroll Unit. So it pertains to their employees, DepEd employees.
Okay.
Yun ang pinag-uusapan doon sa DepEd order
Memo.
na to. Yung mga empleyado lang ng DepEd.
Which are mostly the teachers.
Yes.
Okay. So, is there another meeting with DepEd? I mean, what is...
Yes.
Okay, when...
There is another meeting today, this afternoon. I made an appeal with VP Sara on last Monday. And I was pleasantly surprised last night that they are now calling a meeting for this afternoon.
So, okay. Isa pa pong tanong dito. This needs to be cleared. So, one of the statements made by Mayor Lani was that pwede bang isang tabi na lang ito? Dahil kung ini-insist na... let me start with this, sorry. If you have a legal position that you own the schools, pwede bang isang tabi muna ito? Dahil if you insist, ano mangyayari? Itutuloy mo yung plano na ipasara yung schools. It's not fair. Ito po yung question ko.
That was never the plan.
What,
That was never the plan.
you never threatened na isasara mo yung...
Okay. Medyo selective yung selective yung memory niya. Okay. When we were in the DepEd meeting, I said, okay, we're just here to listen to Taguig on their plans for the transition. Sabi niya, okay, we're ready. Ready na kami, nakunin lahat ng estudyante. Sabi ko, okay, good. Sabi ko, okay, so isasara na namin yung schools. Because sabi niyo, ready na kayo. Sabi, ba't mo mapapasara? Sabi, well, you said you're ready. The schools are owned by you said you're ready. So that means that you're ready to absorb all these students, even without the city facilities, because you know that the city facilities is owned by the city. That to put into context yung sinasabi niya, at the end of the meeting, nakalimutan niya, nagkaroon siya ng amnesia. At the end of the meeting, I said, okay, transition. I said, clear. Even the DepEd knows that.
Yeah.
Malinaw sa amin at the end of that meeting that we will transition the schools. Kaya hindi ko maintindihan ano yung sinasabi na ipapasara ko. Yan ang fake news. Yan ang clear na misquoting the conversation during that meeting in DepEd.
So what?
Bakit ko papasara? Mamimigay nga ako ng supplies. Hindi ba nakakatawa yun?
Nasa na, ano nga mangyayari dun pala sa supplies, Mayor? Ang dami po nun.
Okay, so the supplies are already distributed in the schools, ready to be given to the students. Very unfortunate for the city of Taguig to issue a statement last night saying that we should just donate the supplies to the LGUs na nasalanta ng kalamidad. So in short, they are admitting that they do not want the supplies. That is already there. And yet, in the same breath, they're saying they're not ready. Meaning, sinabi nga niya, susukatan pa yung mga bata. So bago pa dumating yung uniform, baka tapos na yung school year. Because we're talking about 30,000 students.
At least.
Are you going to pay? At least? Actually, yung huling enrollment namin last March is around almost 48,000. So, can you be able to procure, supply, for 30 to 48,000 students when the school is going to start before the end of this month?
We're talking about 2 weeks left before school begins. Classes begin.
Diba?
Okay.
May konting sense of reality ba sila na nandito na yung supplies? Ayaw mong ibigay ko, bakit? You are being generous. Someone is being generous to you with no strings attached. And yet you're saying no. Why?
Yeah, that's something that also needs to be discussed. And even siguro sa DepEd, Mayor, maybe that is something you can discuss with them because if we just put everything aside, there are supplies there that are ready. There are school uniforms there that are ready. Saan ho kaya mapupunta yon? But again, we need to take another short break. We will be right back. We're back with Makati Mayor Abby Binay. Mayor, mabilis lang po ito yung tungkol dun sa ownership. I know sinasabi niyo po, plain and simple at malinaw. Ang may-ari po ng mga building na to ay Makati. Pero nagamit po kasi yung word na dun sa sinasabi kong statement kanina, yung ipapasara, it's not fair. Yung mga structures na yan, ang sabi po ni Mayor Lani, gamit ang pananalapi ng bayan. So, meron pa ho bang posibleng conflict o problema sa ownership with regards to ownership?
Pananalapi, it's true. It was paid for by the taxpayers of Makati, buong Makati, because the 10 barangays cannot sustain the expenses in that area, vis-a-vis the taxes generated in that area. So funny, kasi kahit na sabihin mo, kahit na i-minus mo pa yung tax na kinokolekta doon sa EMBO, may balanse pa rin.
In fact, I heard an interview this morning, no, that you said that yung tax generated from the 10 barangays is so small. I think it's, 6 to 8%. Tapos yung inyong gastos.
It's actually, I have the estimated income is only 1.096 billion. The estimated expenditure is 9 B. So the deficit is 7.9.
Opo.
So the 7.9 is actually being paid for by the rest of the citizens of Makati.
Opo. Yung natitira dun sa 33 minus 10.
Minus 10.
Opo. Yun ang para nagsasubsidize, ika nga. Okay. Yes. The DepEd meeting this afternoon, is that going to be you and Mayor Lani as well? Maghaharap po
Yes.
ba kayo ulit?
Hindi po ako ang haharap. I am sending a representative because the schedule was set last minute kasi, and I have 12 people na ikakasal this afternoon. So medyo pwede naman daw na representative. So I will be sending someone
Okay.
to attend the meeting.
And very quickly, Mayor, do you still see a possible compromise para naman po hindi ma-affect itong 30 to 40,000 students? What compromise are you possibly seeing?
That's always been on the table naman eh, a compromise eh. The one that's not budging is them. They don't want to sit down and talk about compensation. They don't want to sit down to talk about let's enter into a MOA. They will start paying the janitorial services, the CCTV. I'm now scheduling a meeting with DOH for the transition of the health centers, which we also own. Because once we start transitioning, then they will now have to provide the health services for the community that they are now saying are their constituents.
Okay.
So the only solution that I can think of is for a third party to mediate.
I see.
Ang problema kasi parang sinasabi, sige, mag-usap na lang kayo. Bahala kayong
Okay.
dalawa, mag-usap tayo. But at this point,
Sino? Mayor Abby, pasensya na po, ubos ang oras ko. Sino ho nakikita niyo yung third party?
DILG.
DILG. All right. Mayor, I'm sure there's still a lot to talk about dahil hindi lang po eskwelahan ang pinag-uusapan dito. Maraming iba pa po. Mayor Abby Binay, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thanks.
Thank you. And CNN Philippines has reached out to get the side of Taguig LGU, but we have yet to receive a response. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.